The Marshall Project is out with a new report on citizens arrested for cursing at cops, and the problem is more widespread than you may think. So now there aren't any official statistics available on the matter, but there is some evidence here that's worthy of discussion. So they say, quote, many citizens are illegally arrested for cursing at cops when, in fact, their speech is protected. Last week, the Washington Supreme Court threw out an obstruction case against a man who cursed at cops after they were called to investigate a disturbance at his home in 2011. In December, a Georgia woman was awarded a $100,000 settlement after cops arrested her in 2012 and placed her in solitary confinement for cursing at them and flipping their officers the bird. They go on to explain that direct, threatening speech is a different matter entirely, and that is illegal. And we've discussed this before on the show, how there are very, very few exceptions to freedom of speech in America, but there's the classic examples. Can't yell fire in a movie theater, can't yell bomb on a plane, can't do direct threats of violence, and that, of course, extends to police officers as well. But remember, just because that's the case does not mean that you can't curse against a cop. They say, in fact, you absolutely can do that. They continue, the use of vulgar speech against police officers came to a head during the late 1980s when NWA released Straight Outta Compton, which featured a track titled, Fuck the Police. During a Detroit concert, police rushed to the stage after Ice Cube started speaking lyrics from the song. The group fled the stage and were later questioned by the cops, asked why the officers rushed the stage. One was quoted as saying, we just wanted to show the kids that you can't say, fuck the police in Detroit. Okay, now, the reality is, of course, you are allowed to do that, and according to the ACLU, they go on to explain further in the article, black people are 8.86 times more likely to be arrested than white people for disorderly conduct in some places. I think specifically they're referring to Minnesota in the article, and oftentimes, what does disorderly conduct include? Cursing at the police. So, again, we don't have broader statistics on this, and I wish we did, but either way, there's enough here to have a discussion about the trend, which is cops really do feel, not all of them, but many of them do feel like if you disrespect them, that's essentially a crime. And that they then have a right to react against you with violence or to throw you in jail. Now, credit to the court system because consistently across the country, court systems are crystal fucking clear. No, when you're talking about a case where it's just cursing at an officer, you got to get your emotions out of the way. They're allowed to do that. That's not against the law. Okay, so the courts are crystal clear, and credit to the courts on that. But you have to change the training of the police officers to let them know that you're a representative of the people. You're paid for with tax dollars. In many ways, sometimes the person cursing at you is the person who's your boss, essentially. So what you need to do is you need to take the fucking high road. And I get it. Everybody gets it. They're just human beings, so they get angry. If somebody curses at them, they're like, no, fuck you. I understand what goes on mentally. But the reality is, if you're supposed to be the law, well, then you have to act like the law and take your own personal feelings and emotions out of it because they are not relevant to the situation that's occurring. The reality is, whatever the law is, whatever the words on the page are, that's what you're supposed to enforce, and if you're arresting people for anything that's not against the law, well, then you are the one that's really breaking the law. And that's the main point to get out here is, you want to have a conversation about criminals, let's have a conversation about criminals. Who are the criminals in the case with the NWA where they rush up there and try to arrest them because they say, fuck the police? Who are the real criminals in that scenario? The police. And I like how I keep saying police, not police. But that's who the real criminals are. Okay? If they arrest you because you curse at them, if they arrest you because they don't like how you're protesting or what you're protesting, they then become the criminals. They then become the bad guys. And as the phrase goes, who's going to watch the watchmen? Well, look, that's what our job is supposed to be. And I don't mean just me and the show here and progressives. I mean society, all of us together. We're all supposed to step up and say, no, This isn't your job. You're not allowed to do that. And if you do that, there are going to be consequences. So get your shit together and understand that you got to take your personal feelings out of it. They're allowed to curse at you. We live in a free country. Sometimes people forget that.